Well, I see it on the queue. I don't think we're live yet.
Man, I didn't take any time to fix my face or anything.
That's all
I
right.
need to shave. I look rough.
I'm ready to shave too. I'm waiting for the winter season to be over before I
Dude,
shave.
it was 77 down here yesterday.
Oh man,
Oh, dude, it was so nice.
that is nice.
I
It,
went
it,
outside in my shorts in like 30s, and I was like, "This is awesome." 30s are feeling
Tony,
good now.
that's
oh
insane.
man,
What's wrong with you?
he's upstate New York.
Well,
Like
we're used to like 10,
yeah.
10 or
Tony,
under.
that's not normal. Like, when you say 10, and I immediately in my mind, why are we not shut down for freezing temperature?
Yeah, we had like a 50-degree day yesterday, and it was really nice. And then it was just rainy and shitty today. But
Yeah, we're getting. Wait, are we live yet? We're
yeah,
just
I think we're
we're just chit chatting back and forth. Hello, good evening. I forgot how to do an intro. Ignore the small talk in the beginning. But
part of the show.
welcome back, welcome back. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I will be the host for the night, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, as always.
Hi, I'm Josh. Good
What's
to
up,
be here.
Tony?
Yes, and tonight we will be discussing. Hold on, because I always mess up the episode of the Twilight Zone. What is the name of it? What is the name of it? The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street and the 1982 The Thing. But before we get into that, as always, we'll be getting into our, just news announcements or just small, noteworthy things we've seen in our BS segment. I have a few things, nothing particularly crazy. If somebody else has something,
I have a lot. I have a
take
lot.
it away, Josh, please.
Okay. Well, first, Kathleen Kennedy is officially leaving Star Wars.
Oh, that was one of my things.
What the hell?
So that's happening. I guess
Thanks.
she's stepping down.
Thank goodness. Did you hear who the three people are they're thinking of giving it to?
No, I'm assuming it'll be like Dave Filoni or.
It's Filoni, Favreau, or Feige. What I've heard.
Oh, okay. So I got two.
Me personally, I'd rather they give it to Favreau.
Me too.
Because I feel like he would. Nothing against Filoni, because Filoni's done good work, but I feel like Favreau really knows what true Star Wars fans want out of the franchise.
I would agree. Yeah,
and then hopefully he can go through and kind of clean up what have been some messy projects.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, like the bar is already set low and high at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll meet the standard. He's just gonna have to, take his time and really make those critical decisions.
Yeah, I heard Andor's really good. That's still one I want to watch. And
yeah, Andor was good. I watched season 1 for it.
I think they're making another season for it. That's another.
Yeah.
So that's coming out. So
that actually ties in with my news. So Andor is getting a season 2, and that'll be its final season. But at the end of it, it's gonna tie in seamlessly with Rogue One.
Oh, that'll be kind of neat. Okay.
So we've now got because I was talking with one of my Star Wars buddies at work, and he said now officially we have that connecting mesh that ties everything in together now. Because of how Andor ties in with what's been happening in some of the other TV shows and series. I didn't mean to steal the floor from you, Josh. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. You know more about Andor than I do, so I wanted you to. I haven't seen the show yet, so
it's pretty good. I do like it. I've liked it more than what was that other one? Acolyte. That was I watched a little bit of that. It was terrible.
I gave up on a lot of Star Wars shows. Like I watched the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and then I stopped. Like I gave up basically right after that.
Yeah, I still haven't finished season 3 yet. I'm going to, just because I started, and I'm one of those people. Yeah. Well, if I started, I want to at least see it through.
Yeah, I heard the third season was really bad, and like the second season was like the perfect ending for that show. So I was like, all right, it's over for me. Just like Toy
Yeah.
Story 3, that series is over. I don't need a fourth one. I don't need it to keep going.
That's unreal. Or a fifth one. It's about to be a fifth one, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it's about to be a fifth one. I've seen the trailer for it. I am not happy with the animation I've seen. And if it's, I know it's legit. I don't know why I'm saying if, but if they honestly believe that people want that kind of animation, it's going to be a cold day in hell for them, because that will be the worst movie ever reviewed.
I'm curious what this looks like now.
It's bad.
Wait, I didn't even realize there was a trailer. Oh my god.
Yeah, it just came out, I think, today or yesterday.
Okay.
It's very like within the last 24 hours.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Like Toy Story, what is it? 4 or 5?
Shrek 5.
Oh, Shrek 5. Yes, I did see that. I thought you were talking about Toy Story 4 or 5.
No, it's talking Shrek 5.
Yes, I did see that. The animation looked really bad. And there was like memes. He was like looking at memes of Shrek, and then he was like, "What is this?"
The whole joke was like him looking at AI generated images of himself.
Yeah.
It's like what was this?
I see the comments is just like they're trying to bully the animation studio to like change the animation, like the Sonic effect.
Like Sonic. You know? I mean,
they should.
Sonic.
In all seriousness, they should. It's 2025. We have the power to bully these companies because they want our money.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I would definitely agree with it. I think the consumer
is right. I can proudly say I was one of the people who was a part of the Sonic bullying for the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's
awesome. Yes. It was, and I mean, I still haven't watched Sonic 3, but I've heard nothing but good things about, the first two movies. So it's just one of those things. If you're gonna keep doing animations, don't make it weird and bad.
Yeah, it's not so awful. I watched it like a couple of times just to look at the animation. It's not like so awful. Get out of here. It's not like it can't be undone. It's like Donkey still looks like Donkey. It's just like slightly off, like slightly too realistic with like especially Shrek's face. It just looks like too hyper detailed. Honestly, just like lessen the detail, I think, a little bit, and it'll be fine.
Just go back to your old animation, or just don't do Shrek 5 at all. I'm perfectly fine without it.
Shrek 5. We had like 4 of them, and like
Shrek 4 was
good.
I liked Shrek 4 because it was interesting to see the reverse side of things. But that
one was good. The third
I would have been fine if that was like a TV show for kids. You know what I mean? But I think it was all right. Like, I'd watch it again. Yeah, not anytime soon though.
I remember the third one was really bad, and the fourth one was pretty decent. And then it needed.
Oh yeah, because he had kids in the third one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand the Shrek lore because he has one kid in the trailer. Like, what happened to the other kids?
They got eaten. They're older, so they eat their
somewhere else.
You got to leave one to
just one
for the
procreate.
To bring your name. Exactly. To carry on the legacy and just eat the rest.
But so for my little bit of news, I don't know if you guys have seen it. So they're doing another Smurfs movie.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's weird. Whatever. And apparently, I forgot about this because I got the alert from Google. They are doing another Anaconda movie, and I think they're going to make it into like a comedy. And I don't understand why. Like, that movie's supposed to be scary and give you nightmares.
I think because the first one was like just so ironically, like kind of like a comedy. They're kind of riding off of that, but I haven't seen the first one. I just seen like some of the effects, and they're just so bad that they're
like it's
funny.
Bad, but I'm like,
yeah,
why are we doing that? I don't need another Anaconda movie.
That kind of loses the point of the movie, though.
Like, it's Anaconda is not like Sharknado. Sharknado knows that it's bad, and they just ran with it the entire time, which I can honestly respect.
That's true. It was. Those movies are definitely at least entertaining. Yeah, I can't really say much about Anaconda. I've never seen it.
I've watched it once as a kid. It was like it's one of those movies you put on to scare a kid kind of thing, but it's only because the effects are bad and you're a kid and you know nothing else.
Yeah, that's like Lake Placid, like that movie.
I love Lake Placid because of how fucking nutty it is.
Yeah, that one actually it's better than I thought it would be.
It's a very CB movie, but as far as how nutty the plot is, every time it's an A. Yeah. What are they doing now? The fucking gators are back. Didn't you get them? Some got away. Damn it!
You know the thing that really I like the movie, but the thing that really pisses me off about that movie is that it's not even set in Lake Placid. I was like,
oh yeah, you said that before.
I remember I was in Lake Placid. I'm like, oh, we got to watch this movie, and I watched it, and it wasn't even set in Lake Placid. I'm like, why the fuck am I watching this while I'm in Lake Placid? It's not even here. Whatever. It was decent. It was entertaining though, but why call it Lake Placid if it's not there?
There's something else coming out.
Fantastic Four. Maybe.
Oh yeah, there's that.
That's gonna be.
I've got opinions on that one.
It looks like
it looks okay. I'm not gonna say it looks bad. It just looks okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm definitely curious. You know.
I want to see what they're going to do with it because I thought they were going to cast different people. But
I don't understand this timeline. It's like set in the 60s. So like,
so it's like when they were actually doing stuff back then. So I'm like, okay.
So is this a different universe? Like,
I just don't understand because I thought this was supposed to start tying in all the loose ends of Marvel.
Yeah, it has to be another universe because, like, they're never mentioned, you know, with Captain America's being set in the 40s and then, like, 2 decades later, Fantastic Four. It doesn't really make sense.
I think they're probably going to be pulled into the current universe, like, at the end with something like that.
Spider-Man's going to fuck something up and then the Fantastic Four will show
probably why Downey Jr. can get away with playing
Victor Doom.
Von Doom. Dom Doom.
Yeah. They can reuse the actor because it's not the same universe or something.
The last thing I want to say about the trailer is, like, the one thing I noticed is, like, they're standing on, like, this platform with, like, a bunch of arrows pointing at them, and it's, like, definitely reminiscent of the Beatles, like at the Ed Sullivan show with the same arrows. It looks exactly like the Beatles. So
it does.
Like the same like 60s imagery. So I thought that was kind of cool, like at least a little bit authentic, like pulling some images from actually that era. So like if they kind of dive deep into that, I think it'd be interesting, at least a time period.
The last thing I have is Plankton is getting his own movie. Finally, Plankton is getting a movie.
Why?
I don't know. SpongeBob's still going on, so I guess they're like, who haven't we done something for?
Yeah.
Plankton. And you know what? I'm not particularly mad about it. I just think, why so late now?
I don't know. I think the only way I'd be into it if it's like Plankton trying to sabotage like SpongeBob's movie and he puts himself into it. Like he inserts himself in the movie. He's like, I'm the star now, like something like that. Like some meta like that. I don't know.
I don't know. It's I think the Hollywood's still grasping at straws to get people to go back to the theater.
Yeah, it has to make fun of itself.
Because it's like there's some good movies that are in theaters right now, but the rest of them, I'm like, I'm just gonna wait for this to come to stream, like the new Captain America Brave World.
Yeah. I'm not.
I'm just gonna wait for that to come to Disney Plus.
Same.
I don't think it's going to be good. And I did see one spoiler, which I am kind of pissed about, but I walked into it and I didn't know.
Don't tell me. I might watch it. It might be a slim possibility.
With Harrison Ford.
I know Harrison Ford's Red Hulk with that. That's like in the trailers, obviously. But
yeah,
that's
all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Yeah, I like Harrison Ford. I think him being a villain would be cool in the MCU, but I don't know.
Yeah,
that's about it.
But that's everything I had. It wasn't. I was looking for stuff that was like, oh, is there any anniversaries of stuff coming up? And I did not see anything. So I was like, man, I'm gonna have a little bit, not much this time around.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's another thing. Gremlins 3 has been cleared to be in production, so that's coming out.
Gremlins 3 got greenlit.
That's doing a Gremlins
3. So it's going to be curious what they're going to do. Are they going to just do like a straight up like sequel to Gremlins 1, or is it going to be a sequel to Gremlins 2 where it's making fun of the first movie? And I kind of hope they go the Gremlins 2 route. Like they already set it up like to make fun of itself, so they might as well keep going with that. But
honestly, I think that's the only way you could do it, because how long ago did Gremlins 2 even come out now?
That was the 90s, 89, something like that. Yeah, I think it was 1990. Yeah, right after Batman.
That's a long time.
It is a long time, and like they have to have that. Well, it's Billy Peltzer and like Cates. They have to be in it, but like I don't know what you're gonna do. Judge Reinhold as like the snarky asshole. I guess he could be in it. I don't know.
I really don't know what they could do.
I'm not saying
so weird.
I'm not saying it couldn't work. They just got to do it right. And like how Hollywood's taken these old franchises and just taking a shit on them, I have very low hope, like expectations, but I'm hoping it's good. I hope Joe Dante, the director, is actually involved.
I think that it's kind of hopeless if they don't get him back.
Yeah, it had to be Joe Dante, and I hope Spielberg's still like a part of it, at least. Like
I want Spielberg to be a gremlin. I want to see a Spielberg gremlin.
That would be great.
Well, like, how much fucking say does Spielberg have like on these movies anymore? Is he just throwing money on it and just like sitting in this pool in the hot tub?
Isn't his name on this Gizmo show that's on that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and his name's on the new Jurassic Park movies, and those movies are fucking terrible. So, like, how much creative input is he putting into that?
He might just be a name.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some sad news. Some Gene Hackman, and best known for his role as Lex Luthor in Superman the movie, a bunch of other classic films. He passed away yesterday. I think it was last night. Him and his wife and his dog, apparently, on his like premises, and nothing's been like officially released on like how it happened or what happened. But I mean, he lived a full life. He was like 94, but it was just like definitely very sudden.
That's crazy.
Well, like he wasn't. Yeah, he's in The Unforgiven, The Conversation, The French Connection. Like he's in a bunch of movies. So rest in peace.
Rest in peace. There have been a lot of deaths, and I was like, I don't know who's going to talk about what death, so I'm not going to mention any of them.
Yeah, well, I kind of had the Superman podcast kind of had to mention Lex Luthor. Yeah, it's kind of rough. Tony, say some good news.
Yeah, what you got, Tony?
That's not good news, but there's Until Dawn movie is like close to coming out.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I just watched the new trailer, the newest trailer that they put out. I think 2 weeks ago. I want to say now.
I don't know how I feel about it because it's just like it's not the same story as the
that's
the game.
Exactly
it's like
what I was saying.
Like what about it is Until Dawn? Because like the game is like you make your own choice. You can't do that with a movie.
No,
and then you lose the story. So what makes it Until Dawn?
I think it's the whole premise of you have to survive, but it's like you could have just made this a whole fucking separate movie, and obviously doing anything involving a Wendigo is going to be a very big hot button because that's going to be seen as offensive to the indigenous people. So it's like, why?
How you look at it.
And I think it's even in the trailer, you see something that looks like a fucking Wendigo.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point of this movie? If you were going to just have something that looks like a Wendigo, you might as well just give me the Until Dawn game.
Yeah, honestly. And people could take offense to that, but I honestly find it like commendable. Like they're like spreading the stories and the tales of like this ancient cultures, you know, and like the Native American populations, and actually like being told. So like the populations now know these stories, you know. Like honestly, Native American like folk tales are like awesome, you know, and they're really cool. There's like one about the coyote. And there's a bunch of different nations, a bunch of different tales, and I don't want those like stories to die because they're just so fascinating, you know, to even like delve in. So honestly, I find it commendable to like kind of push that knowledge and like those like characters and stories like to the future. Honestly, I think it's a disservice if you don't fucking use them, you know.
like I get it, but it's always a sensitive thing. You know, because
you got to do it. You got to do it right. You can't just like
you have to have the right people do it.
You do,
because then you'll start mixing visions and it'll start skewing and differentiating the original source material that it's supposed to be based from.
It has to have the same like through line or like basis and like its kind of reality. You can't kind of extend outside of that. I had my girlfriend. She played Until Dawn for the first time, and then like I didn't tell her anything about the game. I just like, here, play this, and I'll just watch you. And it was very, very entertaining.
That game is so freaky.
Yeah. But then the trailer came out like right after, and like, what? This has nothing to do with the game. So it was just kind of funny timing because like she literally just played it, and then the trailer came out.
Because you know what it really reminds me of? It's the Resident Evil Raccoon City movie that came out, 4 years ago?
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about that. Yeah.
And it's like, that had nothing to do with the game, and it was even worse than what they could have than what they did with the Monster Hunter movie.
There's a Monster Hunter movie?
There's a Monster Hunter movie.
Is it like, was it huge in China and then didn't even release here type of thing?
No, it's on Hulu. You can watch it. It's got it has T.I. It has the I always mess up her name. Mila Jovovich from the Resident Evil movies.
Who is allowing Capcom to make these decisions? That's crazy.
I really want to know because Tony, it was so bad. If I would have paid to watch that, I really would have done some self-harm to myself because of how awful that movie is.
That's also like the one game I don't even think you can like make a movie out of because it's just like, go kill monsters and then come back to the camp and then get rewarded. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the whole
it's
game.
like, how do
There's
you
no story.
make that a movie? Like, you kill monsters and that's the point, but you're never going to get to see the biggest, baddest monster because there's always more.
Oh, man. It's like, I never watched the Silent Hill movies, but my understanding is like, the story is just terrible. And they just used, like, from what my understanding is they used the nurses and like Pyramid Head from like Silent Hill 2 in these movies that aren't like James's story. And it's like, why like, if you played Silent Hill, like, it's like.
Mm-hmm. The first one.
Did we watch that, Jerry?
Yeah, we watched Silent Hill.
Okay, yeah, okay.
The first one is kind of close.
Really?
Like, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's definitely a very Silent Hill movie, but that second one that they did and the one after that, absolutely nothing to do with the game.
I just think it's strange to use Pyramid Head when he's like he's supposed to be James's like own trauma as a thing and use that character for someone else's story, right?
I think it's just how he became the face of the game.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like, oh, Pinhead's the face of Hellraiser, but he really doesn't have shit to do with anything that goes on. it's all the people around who fuck with the puzzle box, and he's just there to collect, and you don't see him until fucking the end of the damn dumbass movie. Sorry, I still hate that movie, and I'm upset.
Oh,
that I made us watch that.
the first Hellraiser.
Yes, it was so.
You don't like that?
Oh,
That movie's
yeah, you
great.
made us watch that too.
It
We
was
did watch
so
that.
bad.
Yeah, I
It
didn't really
was-
like that movie either.
It was
What the
bad.
hell?
Yeah,
It
it
was-
was like gross.
It was bad.
Just like gross and like.
It was smut. It was just a smut film.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm like, okay, I don't, if that's what you're going for, you hit the mark, but what is this?
I don't know. That's one of those horror movies that like feels like kind of like Candyman to me, where it's like, I don't know, like really gritty and it makes you feel gross watching it, but it's like well done.
But Candyman is good.
Yeah,
though.
the effects are definitely.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. I never seen Candyman.
Oh,
either.
Candyman's very good.
it's great.
Like, it's once you see like more of the movies and they explain the lore of Candyman, it's fucked up. But like, it's a very good like horror movie to watch at any time of the year, not even just for spooky season.
Didn't they come up with like Candyman 2?
They made several
Or
Candymans.
like a remake,
Yep.
Yeah,
like recent.
I thought it was okay.
It was all right. I never got a chance to finish it all the way through because I was at a friend's house and we were just watching it because we were meeting some other people for dinner. So I can't say, yeah, it was good or no, it was bad. But from the little bit I saw, it was all right.
I gotcha. Yeah, I heard it was okay.
Tony, you got anything else, or are you guys ready to move on?
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah.
I got one more thing. Hello, everybody. So we will be moving on to our short, which is from the Twilight Zone. I think it's season 2. The monsters are due on Maple Street, and I want Tony to take this one.
The monsters are due on Maple Street. How can I explain this? So I think something flies overhead while everyone's they're not outside, but something flies overhead and they see it. It's a street in like suburbia, Maple Street, street in suburbia. I guess this is like the 60s when the show came out, right?
Yeah, I think so.
50s,
something
60s,
like that.
something
50s,
like that.
60s.
But yeah. So everyone on this suburban, I guess you could say that they're probably somewhat tight knit because it's suburbia, like row houses, like cookie cutter, like right when that was starting to become like the norm, was like cookie cutter houses and stuff. And then all of their appliances, cars, everything just fails immediately at the same time, and everyone's really confused and in a panic, and looking for answers. And this kid, I forget his name, this kid explains it away by saying, oh, the monsters, someone goes and leaves to check to see like what's going on around them. This kid explains it from probably cartoon serials, or not cartoon, but like sci-fi serials, like, oh, this is what the monsters or aliens or whatever, they don't want us to leave, don't leave, they don't want us to leave, they're doing this. And then all of a sudden everyone is believing this this shitty little kid.
Yeah.
And everyone just starts to turn on each other, and comes to a point where a man just coming back to report news is murdered, and then every little thing is used to point fingers at each other, and a big reveal that it was actually monsters or aliens or beings from beyond, that were just flicking the light switches just to make us kill each other and turn on each other. And what I would assume is a huge metaphor for the Red Scare is what I gathered from it. But that's it.
Yeah,
That was a great explanation, Tony. That was a 10 out of 10.
Thanks.
So this is actually one of my more favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone. Like, of course, the whole series as a whole, like every episode has something very unique about it. But this one to me just always left a strong impression because it really showed how one little thing, obviously for them it was the use of appliances and like electricity flickering, but one little set of events can completely put distrust in you and, people that you would think nothing can break the level of trust we have. Because everybody was just real slowly pointing fingers at each other the whole time, like, okay, well, what about you, huh? Why haven't any of your appliances been making all this weird stuff happen? And it's like, that has nothing to do with me. What about you? You've always been kind of weird and shady. I remember when you first moved in here, you didn't cut your grass for, 6 weeks. Or, just kind of BS like that.
Yeah.
And then you just, once the seeds of paranoia were planted and sprouted, it was, it was essentially just mayhem and hysteria. Nobody, could trust anyone. And the finger was always being pointed. And then it's a slow plan. They were like, okay, it was a good test run on Group A. Let's try it again in Group B. And that was something that I think really translates well into the movie, which I'll save that translation for later because it'll make sense after the next explanation. But Josh, I really want to know what you think about this.
Yeah, I never seen this episode before. There was like a point where I was watching a lot of Twilight Zones, and it makes me want to watch like the whole series. Like I've seen like a handful of episodes, but I never seen it all the way through. So this was the first time I seen it, and I didn't really know what to expect or like what was going to happen. Like I just love how like Rod Serling's like explanation in the beginning and the ending, like how he just like ties it all together. But like and like the writing is so smart, and I think this was the first season. It looked like it's and I think it's like 1959, 1960. So like it's so kind of like early television, early cinema in that regard. And just for this to be broadcast to like all these televisions, like it's such smart writing, like you could compare this show to writing of today, and it's like as sharp as like if this came out today, it would be as like original and sharp than as it was like back in the day. And it's like so ahead of its time, just like this whole series. And I loved how the kid like knew what was going on from the beginning just because he reads comic books. It kind of reminded me of that kid from Back to the Future with the barn, like Old Man Peabody, and he has like the magazine, the pulp magazine of like the DeLorean, and he's like, oh, he's an alien, look, I kind of remind me of that. Yeah, and then they just like all turn on the kid just because he like reads comic books. And yeah, the whole town goes like in like mass hysteria. I forget the character's name, but like the one you kind of follow in the beginning, like I liked him the most. He was the brunette guy. Yeah, he was like the one who was like the most logical, I feel like. And then
even he though. He's like he let the Aloha shirt guy take the shotgun from him, which
that's true. Yeah, the short, like kind of stout guy. Yeah, he took the shotgun, and then like they send one of their neighbors to look at another neighborhood, see if they have a power, and he comes back and they just automatically shoot him. I'm like, what the fuck?
That was pretty metal. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot that happened. I've seen the Twilight Zone at least 6 times over. Like whenever they run the New Year's marathon, I'm right there all day.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. It's definitely a show like worth watching, like and rewatching. You get so much out of it. Like the writing is so smart. And yeah, just like Rod Serling's delivery of like every intro and like outro, it's so good.
Now, I did want to ask you guys, say you were in this similar situation where, you believe someone next to you is kind of not off, but, they've got something more going on to them. Do you think you would ever let yourself get to that level of just hysteria and just looking over your shoulder, like what's that guy doing?
Well, if I took myself and put it in the plot of this show, I'll just put it in this scenario. I think I would just like walk to another neighborhood or town or something,
Oh, so you're the one who got shot.
Yeah, I guess I would be the one who gets shot, but like, yeah, that would be the first thing I do, and then I would like try to relay the information, like, oh, they have power, they don't have power, kind of situation, or just kind of see like how others are doing, or like other family members, like outside of my neighborhood. I think I would check on first.
So you would, obviously you do the logical steps first.
Instead of
well, they don't. Let me go check on my family, see if maybe they do.
Yeah, exactly. And like, plus, you gotta have to kind of put yourself in the 50s mindset too, because you don't have like cell phones or like ways to like communicate like instantaneously to like family members. So like, you almost gotta like hope you live near them, like near somebody you trust, kind of situation.
Yeah, and that was my thought process too. I'm like, well, first I'm gonna go check, the next couple neighborhoods over, see like, hey, power, yay, nay, and then I think to myself, okay, well, what about my family? Let me make sure that they go. I'd be obviously one of the dude who got shot too, because the first thing you want to do is go see what's wrong. You don't want to just
exactly
sit up there like, what?
Just jump to conclusions is like the dumbest thing you could kind of do.
Yeah, and I think I could, if it was a different circumstance, maybe, like if it was the mid 2000s when everybody was still, pretty chummy with their neighbor and knew, we're still pretty tight with them.
Yeah. If it was a different, if it was like The Thing, then I would probably.
If it was The Thing, I would definitely be a life or death situation person. Like, okay, we need to get some things situated here first.
Yeah. In this scenario, I would be more looking at other evidence to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. But that is, I don't know, that was everything I had to say about this. I have more I wanted to say on the feature film, if you guys are ready to move on.
I guess I'll just go into my final thoughts. I think overall it's great. Like, the only nitpick I have, I wish the aliens looked like aliens instead of just like humans, That's the only thing. I wish they're like creepy looking aliens, like uncanny, just weird looking, Then it would be like, oh man, these things are like very devilish or like out of this world, like completely non-human, But it's like just like another person fucking with a person, basically. So it didn't take me out of it. I just wish it looked.
Yeah, it's just like a little preference thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's pretty common in Twilight Zone. They, keep stuff looking human and won't make everything super sci-fi.
Right, and like
that's a fair nitpick.
Yeah, and in like the 50s, there's like definitely those kind of costumes where they could have got away with like some alien form or something.
Yeah. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I really like this. It's funny. I think I definitely remember I had the textbooks that we had in like 5th or 6th grade were for literature, where we would like read out loud in class. I don't know if you guys had stuff like that when you were like younger.
Yeah, we did.
This, for some reason, the script of this episode was like one of the things that we read in that class.
Oh, that's cool.
That's nice.
So
I wish I read that. I had shitty books like fucking John Steinbeck, The Pearl, and that shit. Like, that was so boring.
So I was exposed to this for a while. I kind of forgot about it, and it was like really good to watch this again. And I think it's.
Did you watch it then too when you guys were reading it?
I'm sure we had to have, but I don't remember for some reason. I feel like we had to have.
Which character did you play?
I don't even remember.
Wait, what grade was this?
It was probably like 5th.
Oh, wow.
It was like one of those like big textbooks where it was just like assorted readings and you would like read in class type of things.
Yeah.
But
damn.
I don't even remember what I was reading in 5th grade. That's pretty
I remember we read A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh man, I hope it's better than the movie. I heard the movie was really bad.
I think I watched the movie, but I didn't halfway pay attention because I was like, this doesn't sound like the book I remember.
I heard the book's decent.
Yeah, the book was pretty good. It's definitely like, you'd give it to a young middle schooler. My final thoughts. This was a very fun revisit. I'm one of the biggest fans of the Twilight Zone. An aunt showed me this a long time ago, and it's just always stuck with me. And it definitely opened up my mind to, what future sci-fi is and should be and how you can depict it in various times. Because, obviously the idea now was we'd have flying cars, jet boards, hover packs, we'd be living in floating cities and so on and so forth. And we still have that same idea now, but we've made it more grandiose, with interstellar travel, species, alien communities, and so on and so forth. But this was Twilight Zone has always held a special place in my heart, and this episode in particular, especially kind of now as living in a post-pandemic world, I can really see at the mindset that Rod Sterling had when he made this episode, because I can still see this happening under the right circumstances, no matter what.
I guess
it's one of those like
happening. Yeah.
Innate built-in natures in animals to always be distrusting when something comes, out and breaks your peace.
Well, you can think of it as like a military aspect, like a country versus a country, like an EMP impact, so like all electronics are fucked,
Mm-hmm.
Then a scenario like that, it's almost like a similar situation where it's like basically back to the Stone Age. So I could see that causing.
I think it's like good social commentary too, where it's like, all someone has to do is so mistrust within a community, or just like, make people hate each other, and they'll implode themselves.
I also give this a 10 out of 10. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, I think I said a 10.
I think I'm probably there too. Yeah.
All right, and now for the feature film, which is the 1982 The Thing. And Josh, please guide us down memory lane.
Okay, so John Carpenter's The Thing. This movie is a remake of the 1950. I'm not exactly sure what year, but the 1950s Thing. So John Carpenter kind of took the same concept of the 50s Thing and ran with it and expanded upon it. And it's basically these, I guess they're scientists. I'm not sure what
they're like a research science team.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of research they're doing on the Antarctic continent, but they're there. They're basically together. It seems like they've been there for a few months now, and they're completely isolated. The theme of the movie is basically isolation and paranoia. And a Norwegian scientist from another camp, completely unrelated, comes in trying to shoot a dog, and it causes distress between the whole camp of basically this North American camp. And they end up killing the Norwegian because he's pulling out a gun, just shooting at everything. They take in the dog because, man's best friend. He's welcome into the camp, and basically the dog infects the other inhabitants of the camp with a thing from another world. And we slowly figure that out with Kurt Russell's character. I think it's McCready.
McCready.
Yeah, McCready, which is I tried to pull the closest look to McCready. This is why I'm wearing this hat. But yeah, and then it's basically distrust between the community on the, in the base, in the camp itself, and the thing itself, the monster, basically takes over an inhabitant, mutates its DNA into its own, and can take on the form of that human or dog or any organic matter material and mimic that and just take place of that. And the camp itself is trying to make sure this thing doesn't go out into the real world, like into other like actual continents where there's actual a lot of life, and it would just keep spreading and get terrible. So, yeah, that's basically the thing.
So the reason I did this tie-in, because I know, Josh, you said you had an idea for the thing, but I've been sitting on this for a long time, and I was like, what is something that could go with the thing that deals with isolation, paranoia, and just kind of mob mentality? And I was like, oh, monsters do on Maple Street. So that was the tie-in with that. And then of course, the alien and the spaceship and everything else.
It was a good tie-in for sure.
I think I really did a bang 'em up job this time. So this was my first time ever watching the 1982 edition, because my first viewing was of the 2011. Let me just
I think it is 11. I think you're right. And Jay, I'm trying to be Kurt Russell's character from The Thing, but I'll accept.
I also did not know that Kurt Russell and Keith David were in here, which was very, cool to see them young again.
Keith David?
Yeah, Keith David was Childs.
Where do I know him from?
He was in Gargoyles. He was Spawn. Okay. Keith David's been in a lot of stuff.
Yep. Okay. Now it's ringing a bell.
Wilford Brimley is also in this.
Yeah, they had some pretty great actors in here. But back to just my comparison, there's a lot that the 2011 version kept from the 82 that I'm really glad they did and respect. And there's some changes that happened, but for the most part, it still kept that same, just suspense and mystery of what's going to happen. But one key difference that was between the 82 film and the 2011 film is you actually get to go into the spaceship and see what it's like in there. And then in the 82, you don't get to see it. They fight in the generator room. And, they just make their way back up top to, just wait for their time to freeze to death. But in the 2011, they blow up the spaceship and there's one survivor left. And the rescue team does come, just like they had said in the 82 film. And he was asking them, well, I guess I can say it. I should have said it before, but he says, show me your teeth, because in 2011, instead of doing the blood test, they check people's teeth for cavities, because, that's more prominent now than it would have been back then. And then as the guy lands, the dog, who is still one of the imitations from the thing, runs off in the distance, and he begins just shouting hysterically, "Kill the dog! It's not real. It's fake. It's not a real dog." And the movie just ends that way. But seeing it finally as the original, no, not the original, because I haven't watched the 50s version yet, but seeing the 80s version, I do have more of an appreciation for what they did in 2011. Okay. Yes, they changed some things, but it wasn't a change bad. It was just a change to fit what would have been a more common test at that point now.
This is what I know about the 2011 movie is that I don't know if this is true, but it was like potentially going to be like the Norwegian team and like what happened to them before what happens to McCready's. What is it? McCready. Yeah, McCready's team. But you would know more about that than I do, if that's even the case.
That tracks though, with the dog running away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You do see some of the Norwegian a little bit more. I don't think that they kill him. I think they subdue him though, because some of the people who weren't that weren't aliens in the 82 version are in the 2011 version, And the 2011 version also does more with. They both do a lot with the body horror, but 2011 shows you more of what it is before the metamorphosis finishes taking hold. Because you see it, once on that burned corpse that the two people are fused. But in 2011, when they had the two people tied together, the thing tried to meld with someone else, and they managed to kill it like right before everything had finished. So it was, they just took different layers of what they knew were in the 80s and just tried to match it in a more modern tone, which was really nice to see, to answer your question, Josh.
And the other thing I know about it is that originally they used practical effects for all the monster gore and everything. They literally filmed it and then they went back and like CGI.
Yeah, they CGI'd it to hell.
Fucked it. Like they ruined all the practical effects that like makes this movie so great. It's not the only reason why it makes it so great, but it definitely heightens it. It looks realistic. Yes. It's like grotesque, but it looks like organic flesh. Like it looks
someone has as real as can be.
Yeah.
The CGI was, to say it was a absolute disservice to what could have been a modern remake of a remake. Like if they would have kept the practical effects, it would have matched the same level of intensity as the 80s, and I would have called it a series that has 2 remakes that are masterpieces.
Yeah. So the 2011 one's actually decent then.
Yeah, it was, it was a bit more action oriented because, they wanted to keep the psychosis effect going. Like, okay, well, who do we really trust? And they still keep, a lot of the same beats going. They still keep the flamethrowers, the flares, the dynamite, the alien coming in as a dog. It's almost not a frame for frame remake, but it's very close to being just more modern. And I remember watching, I was like, man, this is pretty good. And then I saw that first CGI, and I'm like, wow, that just fucked everything.
Yeah, no, they even made all the practical effects. They already filmed it, and then some dumbass producer was like, oh yeah, we need CGI. Just put shit all over.
One thing that I will say, both versions I think match very well, even though the CGI was bad. Back then it was considered good or okay. We've improved leaps and bounds since then on some effects, but really the body horror aspect of something transforming, like when we see the dog in the kennel in the 80s and he's trying to assimilate and infect the other dogs, that gave me absolute goosebumps and I felt sick to my fucking stomach.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part because it's like dogs too, so you feel bad for the innocent creatures.
In 2011, when we see it try to meld with, an imitation to still a living copy, and you can just hear the voices, just going in and out of this guttural kind of just fight for dominance, I was like, this is terrible, and I'm never going to sleep again. It was I can still hear that. It's nasty.
In the remake, in the 2011 one?
Yeah, in the 2011 one, it's like I said, the CGI was bad, but they still did some things right in there.
Okay.
Because they still kept the same beat of there being multiple infections, that we just don't get a chance to see. If I remember right, I think they do the same thing where the dog goes and just infects someone and then you don't see it much, but you hear it this time. But I would have to, do a rewatch and then give a very extreme Spark Note summary on the next episode because I haven't watched that one, God, in 14 years.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. In preparation of this, I watched the 50s thing. So when I was gonna pick this as one of my choices for the for the podcast, I was going to pick this and the 1950s one and like compare and contrast, kind of like I did with Fly versus Fly. 1950 ones is like there's some like nice imagery, but it's a lot of like stop and go and like people talking in a room, like kind of 1950s like scientists like explaining what's going on, and then the monster itself just looks like Frankenstein. Like
I saw a picture of that because I do remember. I'm like, that thing looks like a very great value Frankenstein.
Yeah, and I'm like, the monster's not so great. Like some of the effects are cool. There's one scene where like they set it on fire, the whole fucking room's on fire. I'm like, oh, this is great, this is awesome, and it was like 5 minutes. I'm like, that was the best scene in the whole movie. Like I mean, it's worth watching that scene at least. Like how they like.
I would still love to see the 50s to say that I've seen all 3 versions now.
Yeah, I kind of want to give it another shot and watch it because I was kind of half paying attention, half watching it, and like I was like doing some chores, but it was like definitely a lot slower, and like this one has the action and like the suspense and like the distrust between the members. This one, the other one was just like, they're isolated and there's one monster. It's kind of like more like Alien. But I guess the alien, they could get infected, so that's even like not a great comparison, but it's just one monster. But in this, like, you don't know who's who. They have to do a blood test, and like there's some like hidden details where you kind of can figure out who.
Yeah, just kind of based on things that are said and kind of done. Like the fat guy, I could tell he was one because he was just sweating too much.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, obviously, his body's trying to work double time because he's being taken over slowly. I really thought that the one guy who got the bullet grazed against his quad, I really thought they were going to have him be the first one instead of the doctor.
Yeah.
Because, that would have been the most perfect way. Like, the dog just brushes up against him. He's got an open flesh wound.
Right.
So it's like, woo.
Yeah. And it kind of would set it up like.
Yeah, but I'm glad that they did the doctor. I really did enjoy that twist. I don't want to downplay it or make it sound like it was unfulfilling. Like, it was very good because in the beginning, he played the part of a crazed person in isolation, scared of who to trust. And that was such a great thing to experience, especially when he was in the radio room with Windows, and he's just with the fucking fire axe, just I'm not letting anyone go.
Yeah, he was like very determined not to have this infect the whole planet. At least
that guy put all of his time and energy into that one scene, and I loved every second of it. That was such a like well choreographed scene and just a very well shot scene at that. Because everything, even Windows, you see he's got the, scar right here on his head, and he's just freaking the fuck out. And he's like, oh my God. And he's just, trying to, he's body acting. So he's like ducking away, making sure like no debris hits him and stuff. And I was like, man, this is like, you could just feel that raw emotion, if that makes sense.
No, you definitely could. Yeah. It was like, it was definitely like, it felt like it was life or death situation for sure. And yeah, it was just raw. And I like how you can watch this movie over and over again and like still pick out like more details and like what the clues are. And like, even they have things that are like, not completely answered too. Like his child's, the thing at the end of the movie.
Yeah, because Childs and didn't really say anything, and then Niles and Larry, they got taken or killed by the imitation doctor. Yeah. So it's just there's a lot of open-ended questions.
There really is.
Yeah. There's a lot of people
that's such a unique way to end a sci-fi horror movie is leaving you with more questions than answers.
Yeah, just ambiguity. I can't
ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
No, I get it, and I forgot that charm in a movie, that builds you up because the beginning it was it was kind of a slog to get through. Like, not that it was bad, but there wasn't, you didn't see the thing. There was nothing really happening. It was just people trying to figure out, well, why did they go AWOL? And then, by the time things started picking up, it's like, okay, now there's a nice natural flow going on. I'm still on the edge of my seat. I will give one criticism. I feel like there was just too many dead shots where they were just capturing the scenery. While that was nice, but I felt they could have taken those out just to speak.
Like in the beginning, you mean?
Yeah, in the beginning.
I kind of liked
I like that.
What I liked about that is it felt like it was the dog, like when the dog comes in and then you get these weird shots of like panning the whole place. I feel like I'm the dog, the thing walking around, like seeing all this shit.
Yeah, it was cool, but
and it definitely sets up like the environment you are at. You like know from those shots that they are completely isolated. Oh my god, there's a scary monster. That they're good. They're completely isolated, and that like there's nowhere for them to run. They have nowhere to go.
I kind of get it, but it's I get it the first time doing it, but then when they went to the Norwegian camp and they re-solidified it like that, I was like, okay, we get that they're in a frozen tundra, because Windows even reiterates it when Larry's like, keep trying to get someone on the horn, we've got an incident.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, you're in a tundra, you're thousands of miles away from the nearest living person. Understandable. I don't need you to keep telling me, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Just like kind of.
It didn't, take away from it.
Yeah,
I was just
I get what you mean, but
it's like, okay, you don't have to repeat the same thing again and again.
I just love how it just like adds to the atmosphere and like the mooding of like the whole isolation theme too. And like the theme is like it doesn't have an answer. It's just dun dun, and there's no like more like music that's accompanying that. It's just like you feel like it should end with like a third note, and it just like feels open ended, like the thing itself, like the movie,
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you don't have no answer.
One thing I will say that I also loved as a practical effect, and this will lead into my final thoughts and review, is when we finally see the thing like fully merged, formed with everything where it was, I guess, supposed to be, if that makes sense. Because, when McCready was finally able to encounter the doctor, the doctor had, his half human face, his half alien face, and then out of his torso came, the dog that he had been inhabiting, and everything was just really gross looking. Like from what was that movie? Was it Reanimator? Oh, we watched it with.
Yeah, I think it was Reanimator with SK.
Yeah, with SK. I think it had to have been that, because it was just very. It reminded me just. You see how grotesque every little detail was. Like everything was fleshy. It looked like it had just gotten out of some type of cocoon. And it looked like something right out of a nightmare. And I think that was the best way to really depict it, is almost as this chimera-like beast.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it's like amalgamation of everything it ingested. Yeah, so it had like parts of everything. I do like that. I'm curious about this though, with like the thing, once it like changes into a creature, like it absorbs it, can it like transform back and forth, or like that's like an answer, like always something I wondered.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Just based on other times we've seen assimilation based entities and beings and powers like this, you can always switch back, even if it's like, okay, I have to have like a picture to do it, or like a piece of like their hair, skin, et cetera, et cetera. I would assume so, because the dog was very still, albeit more grotesque. It was still pretty spot on to what it first looked like.
Yeah. I don't know what that fucking dog in the beginning. I don't know what they did to it, but like the acting of that dog is so weird. And like it's off. Like just how the dog moves. I'm like, I don't know how they got that dog to move like that. Like it's so alien.
That is a very well trained animal, and I hope. Obviously I know that dog's passed, but I hope that dog lived a long and fruitful life.
Yeah.
Because that was really like, as far as animal acting, like, yeah, we've watched Air Bud and Lassie and all those other losers. That dog, that was a Josh, give me a top tier actor. I can't think of one right now.
Well, I was gonna say I would compare it to Barney from Gremlins, the dog from Gremlins, because that dog acted really well in that movie too.
That dog is like the Denzel Washington dog.
Yeah, Denzel Washington's good.
If you see that dog, it's gonna be a great movie.
Yeah, that's him and Barney from Gremlins are like the best two dog actors I could think of, and maybe Toto too. Just throw Toto in there because he's classic.
Yeah. He's got the legacy.
Yeah,
legacy actor.
Yeah.
But this is I having finally watched the 80s thing. I know I said it before, but the appreciation I have for some of the things in the scripts for the 2011 film, I do appreciate more, and I understand it better. And while yes, they did drop the ball switching from practical effects to CGI, if you ignore those bits, it is still a very good way to adapt a new telling of the thing. And even the 80s thing, pending for when Josh has us watch the 50s one, please be soon.
I don't know. But, it was kind of boring.
But the 80s one, it's an 80s film, yes, but I understand the cult following behind it. It has fantastic camera work. All of the actors did a phenomenal job. Everyone met their standard and exceeded it. Even if they only had to put in 110% for maybe 2 or 3 scenes, they gave it every little bit. Kurt Russell, I loved seeing him as a lead that young, and especially for a film like this. I see what people mean. Like, this is a very B movie, but there will never be a B movie better than the 1982 thing.
Yeah, just how it's executed. It's like definitely a B movie plot, but it's like elevated just because of the execution.
And seeing Keith Urban and Kurt Russell be both chummy and rivals on screen, I didn't know I needed that in my life, because I'm a big Keith David fan. I think he's a very great just actor in general, but I think he's also a pretty great person. And just seeing that chemistry they had toward the end of the film, where it was do or die, and well, how do I know you're not one? And he tells to Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell tells him, well, we're just gonna have to sit here and wait, I guess. And that was really them saying, I know you're still a human, but I still have my distrust in you, which I thought was very unique. All things considered, that it just transpired before that point. Definitely want to give a big shout out to, I can't think of his name, but the man who played Windows, because he was sensible in some parts, and in others you could see the paranoia just really getting to him when he went for that shotgun. And even when they were doing the blood testing, he was backing away because he was starting to believe himself, like, maybe I'm not me, and maybe something else is me without me realizing it. Like, that was a very great thing, not just to method and body act, but just see, like, on his, like, the just tension and relaxation on his face when that finally happened. This was a very great movie. I think everyone should watch this movie at least once.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I do feel like you're doing yourself a disservice not watching this movie at least once. And I'm also going to give this, a very reputable 8 out of 10. having watched the 2011 one, this definitely got bumped up some points because that one, while I do like it, yes, this just executed some things that I didn't like better. So it's a very, it's a solid movie. I'd probably play it again in like maybe a year or two if I was looking for a horror movie to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie. Like I kind of now I haven't watched it for the first time. Like it was like 5 years ago when I first watched it, and then like after that, it's kind of been like a yearly movie that I watch. Well, I have it on Blu-ray too, so here it is. So it's kind of hard not to like pick it up, like especially like this time of year. Did you pick this because of like the Frozen aspect to it? Because I was thinking
that was just very coincidental because of all the cold weather and snow.
Yeah.
I was literally just thinking, I was trying to do like a winter theme of like, oh, you're stuck somewhere and something's going on. That was kind of like, that isolation and cabin fever kind of thing I had in mind. But no, you had said winter and tundra, and I was like, I could have went with that, but I didn't. That was just really coincidental.
Yeah, it kind of worked out because like I'm so over winter at this point, and like watching this, like I kind of felt like how they did, at least not like as extremely, but I'm like, yeah, I want to get through this, and like this needs to end, and but yeah, this movie I watch almost like every year now, and I just love the themes of it, and just like the practical effects are amazing. Those are 10 out of 10 for sure. Like you can't really do any better than that. And there's like even like some interesting shots, like when the doctor gets his arms, like
when he gets his arms bit off in the gut.
Yeah, I think they use an actor who is an amputee for that shot, like for the wide shot, and they put a mask on him, like of the actor's face.
I thought his face looked a little bit off in that scene.
Yeah, but like it like you wouldn't even really notice. Like he's
gonna look good.
Off. He's gonna look off just because he's screaming like that. So like it's complete. I kind of like how it looks weird, but like honestly, I think it's like really cool. Especially they just use that actor for one shot for one scene. And like the matte paintings, I'm like a sucker for matte paintings, like when they use like for the background, it's just like someone just painted the whole background. Like they've done that a couple of times, especially with when they excavate the spaceship in under the ice. And like I like how it's revealed too, it's been under the ice for like almost 100,000 years. So like this landed probably like when humans were just like first evolved, and like thinking the aspects of that. And for humankind in general, a good thing it landed in one of the most remote places on the planet and the harshest places on the planet, where there's like one of the few places where there's not too much life for it to kind of spread around. And this movie, like, since you selected it, it made me, go back. I wanted to watch the 50s one, and I kind of already mentioned my thoughts on that. And then there's an X-Files episode, which is basically like this premise, but it's like with a worm, and they're in the Arctic. And I saw that first, and then I saw the Thing, and I'm like, oh, that X-Files episode basically just ripped off the Thing. It's called Ice, but instead they're in Alaska, and the worm like burrows in the back of their neck, and they become like very aggressive. That's kind of what happens. But like if they put another worm in there in the host, like the worms will kill each other off, and then like the host will be okay. So that's like how they save each other. But it just made me want to go back to that and watch the X-Files for that too. But this movie I would give it a 9 out of 10. I'm more leaning towards a 10, but right now I'll give it a 9. But it's so rewatchable.
I would definitely have rated this higher, but it's not that it's my first viewing, so I know later viewings will increase.
Yeah, you almost got to digest it more and more, and I feel like the more I watch it, the higher the rating's going to be. So probably eventually a 10.
What do you think about Tony?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's always like a movie that's been known for the creature effects, and I've always had wanted to watch it, and I watched it for the first time actually like a couple months ago, which is kind of interesting timing because I've always wanted to watch it and I had just watched it. And then upon rewatch, it was really interesting to watch because since then I've seen like videos of there's like a whole long, huge 2-hour videos that I did not grasp any of that people will talk about like, like in the end, Mac, and then I'm forgetting the other guy's name, but both of them, what was it?
Childs?
Mac and Childs. Yeah, they're like it's just presenting the arguments of is Mac the thing, is Childs the thing, are they both the thing, or neither of them like or inhabited? And it's just going through, picking up all the little details, like analyzing the shadows. So it was kind of funny to watch that again after.
Yeah.
People pick this movie apart piece by piece.
Yeah, like the cult following for this movie blew my mind when I was doing my research. Because, in the beginning, nobody really liked it. And it wasn't until much later people really started appreciating, like, oh, hold on. This actually is very well filmed for it to be, a B movie. Like, is it, like, it's like we said, is it the greatest? No. It's right in the middle where it needs to be. And it was done with so much TLC that I think everyone involved with the project was so enthralled with the idea that they knew to give it their all.
Yeah. I think it's a great movie and great crazy effects. I don't know why the effects like the scenes that remind me of Friday the 13th. I don't know why. I think it's the guy like something happens and he gets flung to the ceiling and it reminds me.
Windows when he gets his head bitten.
Yeah, it makes me think of. I don't know. So many great effects of that time. It's just a great 80s movie. I'd probably give it a 9. This is a great 80s movie.
That's cool. Yeah. I want to ask you guys this question before we move on. Do you think Childs or McCready is the thing at the end of the movie? What's your take?
I think Childs is the thing, and I think McCready knows, but he's too tired and gives up.
I think it's Childs because McCready, obviously, we know he's been a human the whole time.
Yeah.
And, obviously, Childs has been as well, but there was that instance when Childs was by himself what is the doctor's name? Breyer?
Something like that.
It's something like that. I'm just going to stick with Breyer. Excuse me, pardon
Blair.
Me, wrong. Blair, that's what it is. Blair. I like Breyer better. I'm going to say Breyer. So there's the moment where Breyer, escapes from being held in the shack. So he easily had enough time to go get to Childs and just, just reassimilate back so that he would have enough time to just make McCready believe, well, I'm not the thing.
Yeah.
Even though McCready calls him out like, you were by yourself and the power was out, so how am I supposed to really know if you're you? But I do think that Childs is a assimilated thing.
Yeah,
I do believe that.
Because you see him walk out of the shelter at one point, and then the power like cuts back out like immediately after he leaves. And I think it's him doing that and like sabotaging everything. And he's the only one who's isolated at that point.
Yeah.
One of the things people like to talk about is them sharing the bottle, and people will be like, "Oh, like why would they do that if they're not both assimilated? Because then they know they're going to spread it to each other if one of them has it." And then some people are like, "Oh, what if it's like, I don't know, like gave him a Molotov cocktail? I don't know." Crazy.
Yeah, I heard it's like McCready like testing Childs to see if he would.
Yeah, exactly.
I did see that. Which is a good fair test, I guess. I wouldn't want to be sharing saliva with somebody else in that scenario. So, it's definitely good. It definitely kind of checks out.
Yeah, that sucks. But that's it, everybody. So, Josh, if you want to lead us in with your picks for next episode.
Yeah, next episode, we are going to be watching Life of Pi, 2012 Life of Pi.
Ooh.
And the short is going to be Life After Pi.
Life after Pi. Are we gonna record on Pi Day?
Sure. Well, I guess we could do that. Even think of that.
I thought that was the premise.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. When the fuck is Pi Day?
It's literally in 2 weeks.
When is that?
3.14, my guy.
It's March 14th. It's in 2 weeks.
What day is that?
I can't. Unfortunately, I can't because I will be in a European country.
Oh, well, that's all right.
We'll have it Pi themed. Well, yeah, this is on off camera talk.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we're going to go ahead and close out for the night. Thank you so much for hanging out with us while we talk about isolation, aliens, monsters, creepy, ugly, gross things. I'm Jerry, guiding you all with Green Lantern's light.
This is Josh sending you off up, and away until next BatYard's Finest episode.
This is Tony signing off.
And we're becoming super friends, one episode at a time.
I thought you were from Pandora or